Captain Jake Miller was drinking his morning coffee when the red alert signal started flashing on his command console. He set down his cup and walked quickly to the main screen of the UES Horizon. The diplomatic ship was traveling through quiet space near the Outer Rim territories, far from Earth and the busy trade routes. "What do we have, Lisa?" Jake asked his tactical officer, Commander Lisa Brooks. She was staring at her instruments with a worried look on her face. "Sir, we're getting an emergency transmission from the Galactic Council station. Priority Alpha level. They want us to change course immediately and report to them within 24 hours. Lisa's voice was tight with concern. Priority Alpha meant the highest level of urgency in galactic politics. Jake frowned. The Galactic Council rarely bothered with human affairs. The 12 alien species that made up the Council had been ruling this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. Them humans were newcomers who had only been in space for a few centuries. Most of the time, the Council treated Earth like a small child that needed to be watched but not taken seriously. "Did they say what this is about?" Jake asked. Dr. Ryan Foster, the ship's science officer, looked up from his station. "Sir, I've been monitoring the galactic news feeds. There are reports coming in about some kind of incident in the Kepler sector, something about human ships attacking alien settlements." Jake's blood ran cold. The Kepler sector was where several refugee colonies had been set up after the Vorthon raiders had destroyed their home worlds. Human ships had been patrolling that area, but only to protect the refugees from more attacks. "That's impossible," Lisa said firmly. "Our ships were defending those colonies, not attacking them. I've seen the mission reports myself." "The truth doesn't always matter in galactic politics," Jake said quietly. He had been a diplomat for 15 years, and he knew how easily facts could be twisted. "Ryan, send a message to Earth. Tell them we're responding to the Council's summons and we might need backup." Ryan nodded and began working at his communication console. As he typed, he quietly activated a hidden channel that most people on the ship didn't know about. Along with the official message, he sent a special code that would alert Earth's military command to a possible crisis. The UES Horizon changed course and began the long journey to the Galactic Council station. As they traveled, more reports came in from across the galaxy. The stories were all the same. Human ships had supposedly attacked peaceful alien settlements. Human soldiers had supposedly threatened innocent civilians. Human leaders had supposedly declared that they wanted to expand their territory by force. Jake knew these stories were lies, but he could see how the aliens might believe them. Humans had a reputation for being aggressive and warlike. Most alien species were peaceful by nature, so they found it hard to understand why humans seemed to enjoy fighting so much. "Sir," Lisa said during their second day of travel, "I've been thinking about this situation. If the Council really believes we're becoming a threat, what do you think they'll do about it?" Jake didn't answer right away. He stared out at the stars, rushing past their ship, and thought about all the alien species he had met during his career. The Zephyrians were proud and looked down on younger species. The Chitauri were logical, but had no patience for what they saw as primitive behavior. The Nebulans thought they were superior because they had been in space longer than anyone else. "I think they'll try to put us in our place," Jake said finally. "They'll probably demand that we limit our military and let them supervise our activities in space." "And if we refuse?" Lisa asked. "Then they'll try to force us to agree." Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Thompson was sitting in her office at Terran Defense Command when Ryan's coded message arrived. She read it twice, then walked to her window and looked out at the busy spaceport below. Hundreds of ships were coming and going, carrying trade goods and passengers to dozens of different worlds. The aliens saw this peaceful activity and thought it represented all of humanity's presence in space. They had no idea what was really happening in the hidden facilities beneath the lunar surface, or in the secret shipyards that floated in the empty space between star systems. Admiral Thompson picked up her secure phone and dialed a number that only a few people in the entire human government knew about. "General Collins, this is Kate Thompson. We just received a Protocol 7 alert from Captain Miller. Yes, it looks like it's finally happening. How long before the Defiant can be ready for deployment?" She listened to the answer, then nodded, grimly. "Good. And Collins? Make sure Dr. Carter knows that 50 years of preparation are about to be put to the test. Meanwhile, on the UES horizon, Jake was meeting with his senior staff in the ship's conference room. The Galactic Council station was now visible on their long-range sensors, a massive structure that looked like a metal flower floating in space. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Sam Johnson, "I've been running diagnostics on our systems. Everything looks good, but I have to ask, are we expecting trouble?" Jake looked around the table at his crew. These were good people who had signed up to be diplomats and explorers, not soldiers. But he could see the worry in their eyes. They all knew that this situation could turn dangerous very quickly. "I hope not, Sam, but I want everyone to be ready for anything. Lisa, make sure our defensive systems are working perfectly. Ryan, keep monitoring all communication channels. If this goes bad, we need to know about it as soon as possible." The meeting broke up, and Jake returned to his quarters to prepare for what might be the most important diplomatic mission of his career. As he put on his formal uniform, he thought about all the times alien diplomats had treated him like a representative of a backward, primitive species. Tomorrow he would find out just how wrong they were about humanity. The Galactic Council Station was the largest structure Jake Miller had ever seen. It stretched for miles in every direction, its metal surface covered with docking bays, communication arrays, and the symbols of 12 different alien civilizations. As the UES horizon approached the station, Jake could see hundreds of ships from across the galaxy floating nearby. "Docking Bay 7 has been assigned to us," Commander Lisa Brooks reported from her station. "They're treating this as a formal, diplomatic meeting, not a casual visit." Jake nodded. Formal meetings at the council station were rare and usually meant serious business. He watched through the main screen as their ship was guided into the docking bay by automated systems. The bay was huge, designed to hold ships much larger than the horizon. "Remember, everyone," Jake told his crew over the ship's communication system, "we're here as representatives of Earth and all humanity. Stay calm, be polite, but don't let them push us around." An hour later, Jake and his diplomatic team were walking through the station's corridors toward the main council chamber. The hallways were designed to accommodate all 12 alien species, so they were much wider and taller than human buildings. Strange symbols covered the walls, and the air had a metallic smell that made Jake's nose itch. They were met at the chamber entrance by a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. This was Ambassador Crixtal of the Zephyrian Empire, one of the most powerful species in the council. "Captain Miller," Crixtal said in perfect English, though his voice had a cold tone, "your species has much to answer for today." "Ambassador," Jake replied with a polite nod, "I'm sure we can clear up any misunderstandings through peaceful discussion." Crixtal's eyes narrowed. "Misunderstandings? Your military ships have been terrorizing innocent civilians across 3 star systems. The evidence is clear." Jake wanted to argue, but he knew this wasn't the time or place. He followed Crixtal into the council chamber, a massive room with 12 different seating areas arranged in a circle. Each area was designed for a different alien species, with their own atmosphere, gravity, and lighting. The chamber was full. Jake could see representatives from all 12 council species. The insectoid Chithari Queen Vexisha sat in her elevated throne, her 6 legs clicking against the metal floor as she watched the humans enter. Her compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights like jewels, but Jake could sense her anger in the way her mandibles moved. The gaseous nebulans floated in their special containment suits, their forms shifting and changing like living clouds. Their translator devices crackled with static as they whispered among themselves in their strange language. The crystalline helix delegation stood in perfect geometric formations, their bodies pulsing with red light that Jake knew meant they were upset. Each helix was like a living diamond, beautiful but sharp enough to cut through steel. Other species filled the remaining seats. The plant-like Verdani swayed gently as if moved by an invisible wind. The aquatic depth dwellers sat in tanks of water that glowed with bioluminescent patterns. The energy beings called the Flux appeared as dancing lights that hurt to look at directly. "The human delegation will stand in the center," Crixtal announced loudly. His voice echoed through the chamber's communication system, automatically, translated into every language at once. Jake and his team walked to the circle's center. They were completely surrounded by alien beings, and Jake felt like a small animal being studied by predators. But he kept his back straight and his expression calm. Queen Vexishaw spoke first, her voice harsh and clicking. "Human creatures, you stand accused of unprovoked attacks on peaceful settlements. Your ships have violated the territorial rights of 6 different species. Your soldiers have threatened civilians and stolen resources. Your Majesty," Jake said carefully, "I believe there has been a serious mistake. Human ships in the Outer Rim have been protecting refugee colonies from pirate attacks. We have never threatened peaceful settlements." The Nebulan representative's translator device crackled to life. "Lies. We have sensor records of human ships firing on civilian targets. We have witness statements from survivors." Jake felt his heart sink. If the aliens had evidence, even false evidence, this situation was worse than he had thought. "May I see this evidence? I'm sure we can explain what really happened." "Explanation time is over," Krikstal said, standing up to his full 8-foot height. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision. Humanity has 72 standard hours to recall all military vessels to your home system. You will submit to Council oversight of all human military activities. Any human ship found outside your home system after the deadline will be considered hostile and destroyed." The chamber fell silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. This wasn't just a diplomatic complaint, this was an ultimatum that would end human expansion into space forever. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. The Helix delegation pulsed with brighter red light as their spokesman spoke in a voice like breaking glass. "Then the combined fleets of the Galactic Council will enforce this decision. Your species will learn that the galaxy belongs to civilizations that have earned their place among the stars, not to violent newcomers who threaten the peace we have built." Jake looked around the chamber at the alien faces staring down at him. Some looked angry. Others seemed sad, but all of them appeared to have already made up their minds. In their eyes, humanity was a dangerous child that needed to be controlled before it hurt someone. "I need to consult with my government," Jake said finally. "This decision affects all of humanity, not just our military." "You have 72 hours, Krikstal repeated. "Use them wisely, Captain Miller. The Council's patience has limits." As Jake and his team left the chamber, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Through the station's massive windows, he could see ships arriving, hundreds of them from every species in the Council. The alien fleets were already gathering, preparing for war if humanity refused to surrender. But Jake also noticed something the aliens had missed. Hidden among his diplomatic credentials was a small device that Dr. Ryan Foster had given him before the meeting. As they walked back to their ship, Jake activated the device and sent a single coded message back to Earth. The message was simple. They took the bait. Begin Phase 2. On Earth, Admiral Kate Thompson received the message and smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that could be bullied into submission. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 50 years. It was time to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. The 72 hours began ticking away as soon as Jake Miller returned to the UES horizon. He sat in his captain's chair, watching the alien ships gather outside the Council station through the main screen. Every few minutes, another fleet would arrive from hyperspace, adding more ships to the growing armada. "Captain," Commander Lisa Brooks said from her tactical station, "I'm counting over 3,000 alien vessels now, and more keep coming." Jake nodded grimly. The Zephyrian dreadnoughts were the largest ships he could see, each one the size of a small city. Their dark hulls bristled with weapon systems that could destroy entire planets. The Chitauri had brought their swarm ships, thousands of smaller vessels that moved together like a pack of hungry wolves. "Sir," Dr. Ryan Foster called from his science station, "I'm getting a priority message from Earth. Admiral Thompson wants to speak with you on the secure channel." Jake stood up and walked to his private office behind the bridge. He activated the quantum communication system that connected directly to Earth's military command center. Admiral Thompson's face appeared on the screen and Jake could see the worry in her eyes. "Jake, what's the situation up there?" she asked. "It's bad, Admiral. The Council gave us 72 hours to recall all our ships and submit to their oversight. If we refuse, they're planning to attack. I can see their fleets gathering right now." Thompson nodded. "We expected this might happen. How many ships are they bringing?" "At least 3,000, maybe more. Lisa estimates they could destroy our entire known fleet in a matter of hours." "Our known fleet, yes," Thompson said with a slight smile. "Jake, I need you to buy us some time. File formal complaints, request additional hearings, demand to see their evidence. Use every diplomatic trick you know." "How much time do you need?" 48 hours should be enough. Can you stall them that long?" Jake thought about the angry alien faces he had seen in the council chamber. "I can try, but they're not in a patient mood." "Do your best, Captain. And Jake, remember that things are not always what they seem. Trust me on this." The communication ended, leaving Jake with more questions than answers. But he had his orders, and he was good at being a diplomat. Over the next 2 days, he filed 17 different formal complaints with the Council's bureaucracy. He demanded to see the evidence against humanity. He requested meetings with individual council members. He even cited obscure galactic laws that required longer notice periods for military action. The aliens were getting frustrated, but their own rules worked against them. The Galactic Council had been built on thousands of years of careful procedures and protocols. Even when they wanted to move quickly, they had to follow their own laws. Meanwhile, Commander Brooks was monitoring the alien communications. Most of their messages were encrypted, but she could pick up enough to understand their plans. "Captain," she reported during their daily briefing, "the alien fleets are positioning themselves at strategic points around human space. They're not just planning to attack our military ships. They want to blockade Earth and all our colonies." "How long would a blockade take to work?" Jake asked. "Earth could survive for years, but our outer colonies would be in trouble within months. They depend on supply ships from the inner systems." Dr. Foster looked up from his instruments. "Sir, I'm detecting something strange. There's a massive energy signature moving through hyperspace about 2 light-years from here. It's bigger than anything in our databases." "Could it be another alien fleet?" Jake asked. "I don't think so. The signature is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's moving faster than our best ships, but it's also much larger. Almost like a small moon traveling through hyperspace." Jake felt a chill of excitement. Could this be connected to Admiral Thompson's mysterious confidence? "Keep monitoring it, Ryan. Let me know if it changes course or speed." On the second day, Jake received an angry message from Ambassador Krixtal. The Zephyrian diplomat appeared. On the screen with his forearms crossed and his blue skin flushed darker with anger.
"Captain Miller, your delaying tactics are becoming tiresome. The Council has agreed to extend your deadline by 12 hours as a final gesture of goodwill, but no longer. You have until tomorrow at midday to give us your answer." "Ambassador."
"I appreciate the extension," Jake replied calmly. "I'm still waiting for responses from several Earth government departments. These decisions take time in a democracy." "Democracy," Krixtal spat. "A primitive system where the ignorant masses make decisions they don't understand. The Council has governed this galaxy for millennia, through wisdom and experience, not through the chaos of popular opinion." After the communication ended, Jake realized how the aliens really saw humanity. To them, humans were not just primitive and violent, but also politically backwards. They couldn't understand why humans would want to make decisions for themselves instead of being ruled by their superiors. That evening, Dr. Foster made an exciting discovery. "Captain, that energy signature I've been tracking? It just changed course. It's heading directly for our location, and it should arrive in about 6 hours. 6 hours, Jake repeated. That's just before the deadline expires. Sir, there's something else. I've been analyzing the signature more carefully. It's not just one large object, it appears to be a single vessel, but it's using propulsion technology that shouldn't be possible. The energy output is off the charts. Commander Brooks looked up from her station with wide eyes. Captain, I just intercepted a message from the Chitauri fleet commander to his ships. He's telling them to prepare for immediate attack as soon as the deadline passes. They're planning to destroy any human ship that doesn't surrender within minutes of the ultimatum expiring. Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. In a few hours, the fate of humanity would be decided. Either Earth would submit to alien rule and give up their dreams of exploring the galaxy, or there would be war. He walked to the main screen and stared out at the thousands of alien warships waiting to attack. Their weapons could destroy planets, their shields could deflect anything humanity's known technology could throw at them, and their experience in space warfare stretched back for thousands of years. But Jake remembered Admiral Thompson's words about things not being what they seemed. Somewhere out there, a mysterious ship was racing toward them at impossible speed. And on Earth, 50 years of secret preparations were about to be revealed. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity's capabilities. Tomorrow they would learn how wrong they had been. The deadline arrived exactly at midday, Galactic Standard Time. Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching as Ambassador Krikstal's face appeared on the main screen. Behind the Zephyrian diplomat, Jake could see the council chamber filled with alien representatives all waiting for humanity's answer. "Captain Miller," Krikstal said, his voice cold and formal. "The time for discussion has ended. What is humanity's response to the council's demands?" Jake took a deep breath. He had spent 3 days stalling for time, and now the moment of truth had arrived. Around the council station, thousands of alien warships waited for the order to attack. Their weapons were charged and ready to destroy any human ship that refused to surrender. "Ambassador Krikstal, members of the Galactic Council," Jake said clearly. "After careful consideration, humanity respectfully declines your offer." The silence that followed was so complete that Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Then the council chamber erupted in angry voices from a dozen different species. Queen Vexitia's mandibles clicked furiously as she spoke in rapid Chitauri. The Helix delegation pulsed with bright red light that meant extreme anger. The Nebulans swirled in their containment suits like living storms. Krikstal raised all 4 of his arms for silence. When the chamber quieted, his voice was filled with cold fury. "So be it. You have chosen destruction over wisdom. Admiral Thexmore, you may begin the attack." The communication ended, and Jake immediately turned to Commander Lisa Brooks. "Lisa, raise our shields and prepare for defensive maneuvers. All hands to battle stations." "Sir," Dr. Ryan Foster called from his science station. "That massive energy signature I've been tracking just dropped out of hyperspace. It's less than 1,000 kilometers away." "On screen," Jake ordered. The main display changed to show the space around their ship, and everyone on the bridge gasped at what they saw. The alien fleet was beginning to move toward human space, their massive dreadnoughts leading the charge. But between them and the council station, space itself seemed to tear open like fabric being ripped apart. Something enormous emerged from the hyperspace portal. At first, Jake thought it might be an asteroid or small moon that had somehow been thrown out of normal space. But as his eyes adjusted to the scale, he realized he was looking at a ship, the largest ship ever built. "My God," Lisa whispered. "How big is that thing?" "Computer estimates 12 kilometers long, 4 kilometers wide," Ryan reported, his voice shaking with excitement. "It's 3 times larger than the biggest Zephyrian dreadnought." The mysterious ship was sleek and dark, its hull reflecting the light of nearby stars like black metal. Strange energy patterns flowed across its surface, and Jake could see weapon systems that looked nothing like any technology he had ever seen before. "Captain," Ryan continued, "I'm receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel. They're identifying themselves as the UES Defiant, Captain Ben Hayes commanding." Jake's mouth fell open. The UES Defiant was a human ship, but how was that possible? No human shipyard could build something that massive, and the technology he was seeing was far beyond anything Earth was supposed to possess. "Put Captain Hayes through," Jake ordered. A new face appeared on the screen, and Jake recognized Ben Hayes from the military personnel files. He was a career Navy officer who had supposedly been reassigned to deep space patrol duties 5 years ago. Now, Jake understood where Hayes had really been. Captain Miller, Hayes said with a slight smile. Sorry we're late. We had to make a few stops on the way here. Before Jake could respond, the alien fleet began firing. Dozens of Zephyrian dreadnoughts unleashed their full firepower at the UES Defiant. Energy beams that could destroy mountains struck the human ship's shields. Plasma torpedoes that could crack planets exploded against its hull. The combined attack was enough to vaporize an entire city. The UES Defiant didn't even slow down. The alien weapons simply bent around the ship like water flowing around a rock. The energy beams curved away harmlessly. The plasma torpedoes exploded against invisible barriers that absorbed their power and dispersed it into space. Impossible. Jake heard someone whisper on the bridge, and he realized it was his own voice. Captain, Hayes opened a communication channel to the entire alien fleet. Attention alien vessels, this is Captain Ben Hayes of the Terran Defense Force. You are firing on human ships in violation of galactic law. Cease your attack immediately or face the consequences. The alien fleet commanders were too shocked to respond immediately. Their most powerful weapons had done absolutely nothing to the human ship. Jake could imagine the confusion and fear spreading through their fleets as they tried to understand what they were seeing. Queen Vexisha's voice crackled over the communication system, transmitted from the council station. What kind of trick is this? No species possesses such technology. No trick, Your Majesty, Hayes replied calmly. This is what happens when humans put their minds to solving a problem. For 50 years we've been preparing for this day. While you saw us as primitive traders and diplomats, our best scientists and engineers were working in secret. Admiral Thexmore of the Zephyrian fleet apparently decided to test the human ship's defenses with everything he had. The entire alien armada opened fire at once. Thousands of ships unleashed enough firepower to destroy a solar system. The UES Defiant's response was swift and terrifying. Beams of pure energy lanced out from weapons platforms that Jake couldn't even see. But instead of destroying the alien ships, they did something much more frightening. The beams struck the alien vessels and simply turned off their weapons and engines, leaving them floating helplessly in space. Your weapons are now offline, Hayes announced to the alien fleet. Your life support systems are undamaged, but you are no longer a threat to anyone. I suggest you listen carefully to what happens next. Jake's communication system activated, and Admiral Kate Thompson's face appeared on his screen. But this time, she wasn't calling from Earth. She was aboard another massive human warship that had just emerged from hyperspace on the other side of the alien fleet. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council, Thompson said, her voice being broadcast to every ship in the area. I am Admiral Thompson of the Terran Defense Force. I believe it's time we had an honest conversation about humanity's place in this galaxy. Jake looked around his bridge at the shocked faces of his crew. The aliens had tried to bully humanity into submission, thinking they were dealing with a weak and primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something that had been waiting patiently for 50 years. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity was holding all the cards. The silence that followed Admiral Thompson's announcement lasted for several long minutes. Thousands of alien ships floated helplessly in space, their weapons disabled by technology they couldn't understand. On the council station, 12 different species stared at their screens in shock as they tried to process what had just happened. Captain Jake Miller watched from the bridge of the UES horizon as more human ships began appearing throughout the area. These weren't the small escort vessels and cargo ships that the aliens were used to seeing. These were warships that matched the size and power of the UES Defiant, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Captain, Dr. Ryan Foster reported from his science station, I'm counting 7 more ships of the Defiant class, plus dozens of smaller vessels I don't recognize. Where did they all come from? The Luna shipyards, Jake said quietly, remembering classified briefings he had attended years ago. Hidden facilities that have been operating in secret since first contact with alien species. On the main screen, Admiral Thompson continued her broadcast to the alien fleets. For 50 years, humanity has been watching and learning. You treated us like children who had accidentally stumbled into space travel. You thought we were too primitive to be a real threat. You were wrong. Ambassador Krickstahl's face appeared on Jake's communication system, his blue skin pale with shock. This is impossible. Our intelligence services monitor all human shipbuilding activities. We would have detected construction on this scale. Your intelligence services saw exactly what we wanted them to see, Admiral Thompson replied. Every cargo ship that left Earth carried components for our real fleet. Every mining operation in the asteroid belt was actually gathering materials for our weapons programs. Every diplomatic mission was also a reconnaissance mission, studying your technology and your weaknesses. Queen Vexisha's angry clicking filled the communication channels. Deception and lies, this proves that humans cannot be trusted. Captain Ben Hayes spoke from the UES Defiant, his voice calm but firm. Your Majesty, with respect, you were planning to destroy our colonies and blockade our homeworld. Who exactly was being untrustworthy? Jake could see the alien fleet commanders talking frantically among themselves as they tried to figure out what to do next. Their most powerful weapons had proven useless against human shields. Their ships were disabled and defenseless. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced an enemy they couldn't defeat through superior firepower. What do you want from us? Admiral Thex Moore of the Zephyrian fleet finally asked, his voice heavy with defeat. Admiral Thompson's answer surprised everyone, including Jake. We want to work together, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals. The alien representatives began talking all at once, their voices creating a chaos of different languages and emotions. Jake could hear disbelief, anger, fear, and confusion in their rapid conversations. You have the power to destroy us, Krikstal said slowly, but you offer partnership instead. Why? Because destroying you would make us no better than the Vorthan raiders we've been fighting, Jake said, stepping forward to join the conversation. Humans fight to protect people, not to conquer them. Dr. Amy Carter's face appeared on the communication system from Earth. Jake recognized her as the head of the secret research projects that had created humanity's new technology. Members of the Galactic Council, we've spent decades studying your civilizations. We've learned from your sciences, your arts, and your philosophies, but we've also seen your limitations. Our limitations? Queen Vexisha demanded. You've become comfortable with the way things are, Carter explained. For thousands of years you've maintained the same political structure, used the same technologies, followed the same rules. You've stopped growing and changing. And what is wrong with stability? The Helix spokesperson asked, their crystalline form pulsing with confused yellow light. Nothing, if it doesn't prevent you from solving new problems, Admiral Thompson answered. But the galaxy is changing. The Vorthan raiders are becoming more aggressive. New species are developing space travel. Old treaties are breaking down. You need fresh ideas and new approaches. Jake understood what Admiral Thompson was proposing. You're suggesting that humanity can help the Council adapt to these changes. Exactly. Humans are good at solving problems quickly and thinking of new solutions. But we're also young and inexperienced compared to your species. We need your wisdom and knowledge. The communication channels fell quiet as the alien representatives considered this unexpected offer. Jake could imagine the debates happening on their command ships as they tried to decide whether to trust the species that had just demonstrated they could destroy the entire Council fleet. Captain Hayes broke the silence. To show our good faith, we're restoring power to your weapons and engines. You're free to leave at any time. One by one, the alien ships began reporting that their systems were coming back online. Jake held his breath, wondering if some of the more aggressive species would try to resume the attack. But none of them moved to fire their weapons. There is wisdom in this proposal, the elderly Verdani delegate said, their plant-like form swaying thoughtfully. Perhaps it is time for the Council to grow in new directions. Over the next several hours, Jake watched as the greatest diplomatic revolution in galactic history began to unfold. The Galactic Council agreed to restructure itself as an equal partnership, rather than a hierarchy. Species would be judged by their contributions and ideas, not by how long they had been in space. The Chitauri, surprisingly, became some of humanity's strongest supporters once they understood that humans shared their practical approach to problem-solving. The Nebulans were fascinated by human creativity and wanted to study their art and literature. Even the proud Zephyrians admitted that they had underestimated humanity's potential. 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon as it escorted a mixed fleet of human and alien ships toward the Outer Rim territories. They were hunting the Vorthan raiders that had started this entire crisis, but now they were working together instead of fighting each other. Captain, Commander Lisa Brooks reported, "The Chithari swarm ships have located the raider base. The Zephyrian dreadnoughts are moving into position to support our attack." Jake smiled as he watched alien and human ships working together as a team. The galaxy had changed forever, and it was a better place because of it. Humanity had claimed their place among the stars not through conquest, but through the courage to offer friendship to former enemies. "All ships, this is Captain Miller," he announced over the fleet communication system. "Let's go protect some innocent people." The stars waited ahead, full of new possibilities for the future.